Hello again, and welcome back to the channel. What was it I said on the end of the last vlog? Plan E, can't really go wrong? Well, let's see, shall we? Oh dear, never rains but it pours, does it? Went to charge up the batteries this morning. They're not bad, but I just thought it's very overcast, as you can see. So I went to charge up the batteries, fired up the engine, and normally when the engine starts, it recharges the cranking battery first. Usually takes, I don't know, 10 or 15 seconds. Then the Orion switches in and switches the charge from the cranking battery to the domestic batteries. And you get used to that change in engine note to the point where you don't notice it until it doesn't happen. And after 20-30 seconds or so, I thought, that's strange. So I looked at the monitor. So as you can see from the screen, if the batteries are being charged, the charge goes, or the dotted line goes from the little green square in the middle to the big blue square on the left hand side. And that's when it's charging from the cranking battery to the domestic batteries, and nothing's happening. Equally, the rev counter wasn't working, and I'm pretty certain that the rev counter works from the alternator. So I put a multimeter on the cranking battery to see what charge was going in, and it wasn't. It was reading 12.5 volts, but if it's charging from the alternator, it should be reading 13 or 14 volts, and it wasn't. There was nothing. So I checked all the connections, they all look good. The alternator is, it looks to me anyway, as if it's original from when the boat was, or the engine was installed, and the boat was built in the 80s, so presumably the engine was installed at the same time. So the alternator's done quite a lot of work. I phoned River Canal Rescue again. Seem to have had quite a lot of call outs from them over the last 6 or so months. Anyway, they've got an engineer who's in Oxford at the moment. They say that person will be here between 12 and 1 o'clock, but they'll give me a ring. They also said that they carry alternators with them, so hopefully, if it is the alternator, should be a simple task of switching them out, and should be all good again. But we'll see. I'll let you know. Now, in the meantime, I thought I'd get everything ready, get all the clutter out, and then take the boards that cover the engine out, so that when the engineer arrives, he can get into it.
I take it that's the start then.
The starter's down that side, yes mate.
.85, 12.51, 12.51, 12.51. 12.5, 12.5, 12.1, 12.85. So the battery's good. 12.7 at the starter there.
What was that?
That's showing nothing. That's fine.
Oh.
Just depending on where the wiring goes. So that's onto there.
Yeah, there's this, and some of it comes around here, around the front of the engine, and comes up to this block.
Yeah.
And then there's a relay over there, and I've no idea what that does. I left it in because I didn't know what it did, but all of this was along here down to that relay.
Yeah.
And I spoke to her.
That, I would say, is the start relay.
Right.
Yeah. You've got an earth, permanent live,
Right.
switch live, and then power out to the solenoid on a yellow wire. And that yellow wire comes out just underneath here,
Right, yeah,
and is going to the solenoid.
that's connected to this junction here, this block.
Yeah, goes into there, comes out there. That's it. Yellow wire's coming up this cable,
So that's the start.
and then it's a start solenoid. That is.
Right.
It's just a 4-pin, just normal 4-pin relay.
Right.
So let's go for a
Yeah,
start up now then.
All right, mate. I'll just
Put
give it a
your
bit of a
there.
warm. Look at the reds, next side. Stick over. No, stick over. Put a little bit of charge with a lower and then knock it off.
I would say the alternator.
Right.
Right, let's go and check this alternator out.
All right, mate.
And if it's the right one, we'll change him. So the belt's tight enough, but there's a bit of movement there.
You're right.
Yeah, just working my way to.
Where are you gone? Do you want a cup of tea?
Oh, I'd love a cup of tea, yes please. Milk, no sugar.
Milk, no sugar, that's good because I've got no sugar on board.
That's all right then. Right, I'm going to have a look at this alternator. Come on then lad, we're going to have a look then. Come on then.
Now, while Mark was away, made him a cup of tea, but unfortunately, when he got back, the alternator that he carried on his van was for a different model, for a different engine completely, so was of no use. So it's back on with the boards and wait for the next visit. I've got a little container in there, and that's where I keep all my milk and margarine stuff. So I've got 2 days later, after lots of to-ing and fro-ing and numerous phone calls with the River Canal Rescue, Mark returned with a Mitsubishi alternator. To all intents and purposes, it looked exactly the same. One of the fittings on the back was slightly different, but that could have been modified to fit mine. And so Mark set about taking the old one off and fitting the new one.
1, 2, 3, 4 coming into there. 1, 2, 3, 4 to there. Okay.
However, once the original alternator was removed from the engine, it quickly became apparent with much frustration that the mounts were different and that the new one wasn't going to fit.
Right, there is nothing I can do. Sorry about that. But everything else is correct.
So it's back on with the engine boards and wait for a solution. Right then, well, bit of an update. It's 7 or 8 days since I recorded that last message. As I say, I contacted the River and Canal Rescue. This was last Tuesday, it's now Wednesday this week, a week later. They turned up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Mark, and as you can see here, he went through all the same processes that I went through and did all the same checks, and basically he came to the same conclusion that I did, and that the alternator wasn't working. So he took some photographs and then reported to his office and left the scene in the evening sometime. So that late afternoon, evening, no sorry, the following day I got a phone call from River and Canal Rescue saying they were having trouble working out what the alternator was from the photographs, and they were going to have to send somebody out either to take it off or to do some more photographs. So this was Wednesday. So then later in the day I got a phone call saying they've worked out what it is, they've got one on order, and they're going to get it delivered straight to the engineer. So then on the Thursday, got a phone call from Mark saying, I've got the part, this was late Thursday, I've got the part, I shall be out first thing in the morning to fit it for you. So sure enough, he came out and he took the old one off and he laid them side by side on top of my engine, and I immediately noticed that the mounts were all different, they were all wrong. It was the wrong alternator. So he then said, well look, I'll need to get in touch with the office because I don't know what to do next. So this was Friday lunchtime. I got a call at about 2 o'clock to say, I'm coming out, or back out, I'm going to take your alternator in and I'm going to get it repaired at a nearby auto electrical repair place. I said, well, don't forget, I've got a lift out on Tuesday, a crane out, and I'll need the alternator otherwise I can't run the engine because the water pump won't work. He said, well, I can't guarantee that. He said, leave it with me. Anyway, he did come out, took the alternator off, left, and then late I got a call saying, on Friday, saying, we're bringing your alternator back because we can't guarantee getting it done this weekend and getting you on the way. So that's where I am now. I've been I was so pleased that we had some sunshine for the last 2 days because my batteries were really on their knees. The only thing I was running was the freezer because everything else I could turn off or do as with the bare minimum. I moved the freezer into the engine room where it was cooler, bearing in mind I'm not running the engine, and that did help, but it was touch and go until, when was it, Monday, 2 days ago. The cloud finally broke and we started to get some solar, and I was able to charge up or get a lot more power into the batteries. I mean, I have to say, I've experienced last winter, you know, you get cloudy days, we all know that, but throughout last winter, most of the time, with the odd exception of a half a day here or there, I was able to get 50 or 60 watts of solar charge into the system, and that was enough to keep me going. On the odd half days that I didn't and I used a bit too much, I could run the engine. Of course, this time I couldn't run the engine, but I've never experienced a prolonged period of about 5 or 6 days when all I was getting from the solar panels was about between 15 and 25 watts, which was barely enough to keep the freezer going. Certainly wasn't enough to charge anything up. So it was a bit of an eye-opener for me, and I'm going to have to have a bit of a rethink on what I have on board. I've always been a bit reluctant to have a generator on board because that means diesel generators are too big. Petrol generators mean storing petrol, which I'm not very comfortable with at all, not on a boat. But while I was doing some research, I managed to find a couple of small-ish dual-purpose generators that run on, as a train, that run on petrol or LPG, liquid petroleum gas, which of course I have on board for cooking. So I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and get myself a generator. Hopefully it won't need using very often. Certainly on last year's or last winter's experiences, it won't be needed much at all. But if I have many experiences like I've had in the last week, then it's just far too stressful. So I'm going to have to bite the bullet and get myself a little generator that'll run on LPG. So now I'm making my way to the crane out. Oh yes, one other thing, should have been craned out on Tuesday. Got an email on Monday, just before I set off actually, to say that the crane had broken down and they now wouldn't be doing it till Thursday. So today's Wednesday, I'm moving down towards the boatyard. There's somebody there that apparently, although I've not spoken to him, but I have spoken to one of his colleagues, that's very good at repairing things like alternators or sourcing new ones. So once I get there, hopefully I'll get there before my battery goes flat. Once I get there, I'll be able to whip the alternator, and I get out of the water, I'll be able to whip the alternator off and go and get it repaired. So as long as I can get to, got two sets of locks, as long as I can get through two sets of locks and get down to somewhere to moor that's got a little bit of solar to keep me going for the next day or so, then I'll be fine. And I'm looking around because I've just seen for my first ones this winter, which is quite late because it's November, but field fares and redwings along the towpath, no doubt on pause. These ones here seem to be on slows, but yeah, winter thrushes. I've seen my first ones of the winter, which is very nice. Anyway, I'll update you as and when. Next stop, crane out, I hope. Now then, in my last video, I think I promised that the next video, i.e. this one, would be for the crane out. Well, things have changed and plan E kind of went a little bit awry, but not wishing to disappoint, here's a little taster. Alright then, this has been quite a stressful episode, but we're about to bring it to a close. If you're not already, then please think about subscribing to the channel. If you want to know what happens while I'm out of the water, then ring the notification bell, and if you think it's been worthwhile, then give us a thumbs up. Okay, till next time, see ya.